And now, it's time for a Star Trek story. You know, Aren, we live in a society inundated by media franchises.
Oh, God. Do we ever?
There's no escaping it. I think every story is now part of some pre-existing IP. I think as we're recording this, the latest in the Alien franchise is coming out. I'm like, how many more? How many more of these do we need?
Yes, but also I enjoyed that movie.
Oh, did you go see Romulus?
So I'll let it pass. But there's so many nowadays that are just not great at all. No. They don't even try.
No. So this begs a question in today's media landscape. How do you set yourself apart in a long-running franchise if you're someone who's tackling a pre-existing IP? How do you set yourself apart from all the stuff that's come before?
There just needs to be one major spin.
One major spin?
At least, I guess. But Deep Space Nine, instead of a starship going through space, it's a space station. And I feel like a setting is a really easy way to have that big spin for what you're doing.
So Voyager being the Lost in Space. But is that enough?
It doesn't... you can try to set yourself apart by doing that, but if you do not go all in, if you do not actually have a vision for it, you have to commit to it.
Okay.
You have to commit.
I like that. You got to have the spin, but then you have to commit to the bit. You can't
fall back.
It's this, but then you just go halvesies on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be curious if today's episode of Star Trek gives us any insight. Yes, welcome to Star Trek Stories, everyone. This is episode 69, Parallax. Which is appropriate. I feel like you have to be somewhat parallax to make a 69 work. Parallax.
So I just have to insert a boo for that joke.
How do you not? Once you reach 69, how do you just not comment on it? And come on, it's Parallax. It's right there. It's right there. I guess it could have really worked at anything. Could it Caretaker? Could have been a good 69.
You're right.
Yes, welcome to the show, everyone. I am your distinct host, Jaron Hatch, and I'm joined here by my well-defined co-host, Aren Hatch.
Wow.
We set ourselves apart here on this show. For those who are new, we have only just started our look at Voyager. It's going to be a long one, so we still got a long ways to go, much like Voyager itself.
Yeah. Long, but not in a bad way. Not in a bad way, because it's the podcast.
Oh, okay. Yes. Great for content. Voyager is fantastic for content.
Yes, exactly.
Last time we watched Caretaker, where our good friends Adriana and Abby came on to see how Voyager does on its first mission, and not good. They instantly got lost in the Delta Quadrant, so off to an auspicious beginning. For today's episode, we have a new friend on with us. Yay! Sitting in the captain's chair, we have the very lovely Will Thompson on with us today. Hello, Will.
Hello. Glad to be on, especially on the auspicious episode 69.
Yeah.
Star Trek Stories. It's great.
Special guest. We'll have a special presentation on 69 immediately following the podcast. Yes, welcome aboard, Will. It's good to have you on.
Oh, thank you.
Now, for those who don't know, Will is actually a good friend of both Aren and Tanner, and is part of their D&D group.
That's right. Yeah.
Which I have only interacted with it in passings. I still have not had a D&D session with
I know,
the
you
group.
need to
You
come
need to
join
have
us
a
one
D&D
time.
session with us. That would be great.
I know, at least a one-off. I sometimes I come in and hear what they're talking about. I'm like, dear Lord.
If you would have been there last night, you would have been like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
Isn't that every D&D set? I feel like every D&D.
Last time was particularly weird. But, yeah.
And now, correct me if I'm wrong. I always get these details wrong. But if I recall correctly, at least some of you all met at work.
Oh, yeah.
Together?
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where it started.
Dan Jones.
The old Dan Jones
Yeah.
doing the surveys. Is that what you guys did?
We were doing the surveys. I was doing consumer price index research and just, having a great time there. But yeah, we had a group of like-minded folks and decided, you know what, why not do some D&D together? And it's been great ever since. We've, just really, really enjoyed it. So happy to be here with the Hatches talking about Star Trek.
Well, I always like to ask what kind of nerd our guests are. Everyone here is a nerd of some stripe. I'm assuming you are, of course, a D&D nerd on some level.
Yeah, we've established that. No, I'm a nerd in multiple dimensions here. No,
if we're going beyond the D&D thing, like how would you categorize yourself?
So definitely a sci-fi nerd and a history nerd. I just to give you some background. I've got degrees in history and political science. I'm trying to pursue a graduate degree in international relations with focus on international security, conflict studies. So war nerd, history nerd, space nerd. I love the space program. I've been fascinated by space exploration ever since I was a kid. The first show I really remember watching growing up where I have a distinct memory of sitting down and watching a grown-up TV show. It was Star Trek: The Next Generation, and that was a family tradition for us. I come from a Star Trek family. Just all-around nerd.
All around.
Yeah.
Teen G was like your first memory of Star Trek. Would you consider that to be your favorite, or what would you put on the top of the Star Trek?
Actually, it was interesting. So TOS is actually my favorite, or at least it exists sort of in its own category for me. And because growing up in the '90s, you didn't have access to, you couldn't just watch whatever Star Trek you wanted to watch, right? And so I loved watching TNG and then eventually Deep Space Nine and Voyager, but I had this fascination with wanting to go back and see the original series episodes. And I had good uncles who would, if they had the ability to, they would record VHSs of original series episodes and send them to me. And then that was just what I had, to go off of. So it's always just wanting to see more of the Trek universe, and I had all the the Star Trek chronologies and the Star Trek encyclopedias and and so, but it was I just wish I could just watch that damn episode. That looks cool, but being perpetually stymied, and so I just I tried to get everything I could, and my parents were very supportive in this. They bought me the things. They took me to see the Star Trek Vegas experience in the 90s. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, I would say TOS is my favorite, or at least, like I say, exists in its own category. TNG was really the show I grew up with. Picard was my Star Trek dad, and then Deep Space Nine and Voyager were just. That was really when sort of the golden age of watching Star Trek in the 90s. You got multiple shows, Star Trek series going on at the same time. I'm desperately trying to get done with homework and get home from school so I can watch them, or at least have the VCR set up to record them. But yeah, Voyager was probably the one that I watched the most from definitely watched from the first episode into the end all the way through consistently, and yeah, I loved it. Especially when, 7 of 9 came on the
Yes.
list. Yeah.
The 7 of 9, yes. Before we get into what we're going to watch today, I'm going to open up the question to you, Will. What do you think? In this day and age, if you're tackling one of these big media franchises, how do you set yourself apart in one of these long-running franchises if you're going to do a new entry in it?
Well, just going back to what Aren says, you've got to commit to the bit. And obviously, this is what Voyager was trying to do. It was trying to come up with something different than what Star Trek had done before. It already had TOS and TNG. Deep Space Nine was trying to take its own spin by having, this space station where it's a little bit more political. Babylon 5 is trying to compete with it. But then you got, this whole idea of like, okay, well, what if we just had a Starfleet crew ship, just off on the far side of the galaxy. There's no context to it, no help from Starfleet. What does that look like? It's more of a survival adventure story, trying to get back home. And I feel like Voyager was a bit of a mixed bag in terms of actually being able to commit to the bit. A lot of times it just completely, you get the sense that they were like, okay, we really have this great idea for this new show, and then a lot of the the upper folks in the in the studio and in the company were just like, okay, but we also just want it to be TNG. We just Planet of the Week. We don't necessarily want it to be quite so serialized as you would kind of have to have it be if you were really going to take that bit seriously. Mm-hmm. And so, I just reiterate what Aren said. If you got to come up with a compelling idea, and then you have to commit to it. And we'll see if we'll evaluate the extent to which Voyager was successful in doing that.
It's and if we're broad in this, think about the Star Wars sequel trilogy. It's like, on paper, this is fine, but I remember watching Force Awakens. I'm like, but this isn't really committing to doing anything new. They're really quick. Remember the old stuff?
Just repackaging it.
It's the same.
Right.
It's the same story.
It is.
I mean, you feel differently, but when I see the trailer for Alien Romulus, I'm like, call me crazy. I feel like I've seen this movie before.
I will say there were some moments in it, and the way there was some moments in it where I'm just like, it's just literally just a clear callback, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I will allow it because I'm enjoying the vibes and the atmosphere of everything else.
All right. Well, let's see if this episode helps. If this episode helps Voyager set itself apart.
If they immediately drop the ball
in the Star Trek franchise. This is the second episode, so We'll see. We'll see how fast the ball dropping happens. Yes, we are watching Parallax today. This premiered January 23rd, 1995. This is the second episode for the first season of Star Trek Voyager. And this is going to be kind of a similar companion episode to when we did A Man Alone for Deep Space Nine. When we did A Man Alone, we specifically took a look at doing a second episode and what you need to do to succeed with a second episode. With these, shows, you have the big splashy premieres where you do all the big stuff to get the initial audience hooked. But the second episode is where you got to slowly start reeling them in week after week, which is almost a more important, difficult job. Because this is the episode that is going to give you more of an actual idea of what you're going to be getting week after week. You're not getting Caretaker week after week. You're getting just a regular 45-minute episode of TV. So, we can see how Voyager does in its second episode and if they can keep that momentum going from the premiere. All right, everyone at home who is going to watch along with us, Star Trek Voyager is streaming on Paramount Plus. You can find it by bringing up Season 1, Episode 3, and we will be back after we watch Parallax.
Let me be blunt. What you tried to do just now was out of line.
In what way?
When you decided to call Torres in engineering.
I've worked with her. I know what she's capable of. We needed an answer right away, and I knew she could give us one.
Carrie is the senior officer in engineering.
If you look at it that way, none of my people will ever have seniority.
That's the problem, right there. They're not your people. You're treating the Maquis on this ship like they're still your crew.
I'm doing everything I can to integrate them into your crew, but frankly, you're not making it easy for me, Captain.
I can't make it easy, Commander. Surely you can understand that. They don't have the discipline. They don't have the training.
But some of them, like B'Elanna Torres, have the ability.
The Starfleet officers on this ship have worked all their lives to earn their commissions. How am I supposed to ask them to accept a Maquis as their superior officer just because circumstances have forced us together?
You're asking them to accept me.
You're qualified. You're a graduate of the Academy, and you have Starfleet command experience.
Permission to speak freely.
Go ahead.
I have no intention of being your token Maquis officer.
Show me another qualified Maquis candidate, and I'll consider him.
B'Elanna Torres.
Who cannot control herself and who could not make it through the Academy.
She's the best engineer I've ever known. She could teach at the Academy. You're right, Captain. I do consider these my people, because nobody else on this ship will look out for them like I will. And I'm telling you, you're going to have to give them more authority if you want their loyalty.
Theirs? Or yours, Commander?
I'm trying to help you. I'm sorry you don't see that.
We just got done watching Parallax. In case you have never seen this before, didn't watch it with us. So in this episode, we start with some drama on the ship. B'Elanna Torres is currently assigned in engineering, and she has punched one of the Starfleet engineers, Joe Carey, and it's caused a whole bit of a tiff, and like Tuvok and the Starfleet people are like, this is unacceptable, we gotta put her in the brig. And then the Maquis people are like, hey Chakotay, look, if we gotta take over the ship, let's do it. So we get set up with this whole conflict between the Maquis and the Starfleet people, and then leading into who is going to become the chief engineer of the ship, because at this point, they don't have one. They lost their chief engineer in the first episode. As they're trying to make this determination, meanwhile, Voyager randomly encounters...
out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere, almost literally the anomaly of the week. They find this quantum singularity, and they find that there is a ship trapped in it. They try to hail it, no response. They try to rescue this ship. Their efforts don't succeed. They decide, well, we'll reach out to these other aliens and try to get their help. But as they try to leave, they realize they keep just running into the anomaly again, and they can't leave. Lo and behold, what ship is actually trapped in the anomaly? It's actually them. And then they realize they've just been seeing themselves this whole time, and they're the ones who are actually trapped in the anomaly. And they got to figure out how to get out of this thing. Turns out B'Elanna Torres has the right idea to get him out of it. And Janeway, who was initially hesitant about promoting B'Elanna Torres. There is such a switch flip scene where B'Elanna just starts spouting off technobabble. There is so much technobabble in this episode.
You heard of tachyons? Have you ever heard of dachions?
Dachions, yes.
Yeah.
They use both in this episode. The first half, tachyons. Second half, dachions. Oh, my God.
It's real. When you nerd out with someone, it's real. The connection is there.
Oh, my God, yeah. So Janeway's like, you're a nerd. I'm into this now. And then instantly decides, you're going to be my chief engineer. Long story short, they get the ship out of there. There's one last climactic scene where they got to figure out which Voyager is the real Voyager. Who cares? And B'Elanna is just, hey, well, now you're chief engineer. Have at it. And then they fly off, continuing their 75-year journey home.
Yay!
They do it, yes.
There's a few other things going on in this in the background. The Doctor is shrinking. The holographic Doctor is slowly shrinking throughout this episode. No one seems to give a fuck. It is not resolved at the end of this episode. Kes puts together a plan to create a hydroponics bay to grow food for their long journey home. So there's a few little things going on in the background, but that's the episode. We'll start with initial thoughts. Will, initial thoughts coming on off of Parallax.
Yeah. So this is what I think is the point of the episode. The point of the episode is trying to, on the one hand, establish that this, for those people who are just like, I just want to watch Star Trek, right? Like, this is going to just be some good old Star Trek. We've got a crazy space scenario going on, but they're also trying to establish for more devoted members of the audience that, like, who up until this point, their experience with the Maquis has been that these are, like, they're the bad guys, or they're terrorists, maybe sympathetic terrorists, right? But we're establishing their competency here, that Chakotay, despite his previous loyalty to the Maquis, is committed to making this work, that they're going to enforce some version of Starfleet discipline. When he tells off those people in the beginning of the episode, like, if I hear you talking that way again, I'm going to write you up for mutiny. But also that, you've got Maquis members who are as good or even better than Starfleet people at running the engineering. And so it's sort of, I think, fulfilling the function of coming out of this, crazy exposition of Caretaker Part 1 and 2, where, we're thrown across the universe. We've got this situation where we're having to combine a Maquis and a Starfleet crew together, and this is trying to just reassure the viewers that, like, yes, this can work. This is how we're going to make it work. There's going to be some give and take, and Parallax, we're seeing the same situation from two different perspectives, but we're going to resolve that parallax so that we can all see it from the same perspective as far as us getting home, making it through this 75-year journey.
Hearing you explaining the themes is more interesting than how these themes came across in the episode than how we watched it. Because like you know, as you're talking about it, I'm like, it's all kind of there on screen, but man, where the focus is just on just like the Star Trek stuff. If that makes any sense. Yeah. It's like...
Looks like the Delta Quadrant's no different than the Alpha Quadrant.
the Alpha Quadrant. Aren, initial thoughts on Parallax?
I loved bringing up the fact that Parallax also applies to the POV of Starfleet versus the Maquis. I never thought about it like that. I only thought about it in terms of the anomaly that we get, and I actually do like it. And it is nice to see it, even just a little Chakotay being a little bit spicy with Tuvok.
He's a little spicy in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably know over the fact that he's been a bit of a snitch, you know, a little bit of a...
Oh, you can tell. Yeah. He does not like this guy.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, dude. Yeah, that little scene between them at the beginning was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I like the tension there. You know, and you know when Kim's talking to Tuvok later, and he's just like, things are tense, and it's like, yeah, it's not as crazy as I feel like. I don't think it needs to be crazy, but I feel like it still needs to be a little more than just tense. And I think because they're focusing so much on the anomaly that it's taking a little bit away from... I mean, some of these Maquis members literally just came up to Chakotay and were like, hey, bro, if you want to take over the ship, I'm in. Like,
they're talking about mutiny. How is this not the story of the episode?
Yeah.
Right?
Like, I feel like it should have focused on the fact that just, like, they're ready to mutiny. But coming to the fact where it's just like, actually, no, we need to work together. That's the only way we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
At the very least, I do like Torres's plotline, and I do like how she connects with Janeway. I do like that Janeway doesn't just immediately dismiss her. Mm-hmm. I think it's realistic, the fact where she's like, okay, Chakotay, you're my first in command, or second in command, whatever, and I trust your judgment, and I will take this into account, and I will still judge this fairly, you know. I'm not just going to automatically give it to my... But there are still rules to follow. Mm-hmm. So, and I do like that moment where she finally connects with B'Elanna, and I love that it's over them nerding out, because I feel like a lot of people in Starfleet, yes, Starfleet is also the military of the Federation, but it's a military that's made up of a bunch of nerds. Yeah. They're just exactly. Made up of a bunch of nerds. Yeah. They went to school, they're all like academics, they all know all these scientific nerdy things, and so I think it's fun. It's like, okay, you and I come from different political backgrounds, we have different political beliefs, but we can connect on the fact that we both... Science! Yes. And they connect, and that helps them connect and grow, and it really, as silly as the anomaly of the week is, I guess it's a good vehicle or whatever to show that B'Elanna knows what she's doing, and even she can figure out, realize that there are some things that she still needs to work on, but she knows her stuff better than anyone else on the ship, and that really qualifies her to be, like the chief engineer. I don't know. I really liked the struggle and the conflict there, but I feel like there should have been more. Yeah. Considering other Maquis members were so ready to mutiny. Yeah. And that gets just brushed to the side, or not even that. It just disappears entirely.
So, we've been talking a bit more in broad strokes, especially with some of this Maquis stuff. If we're getting a little more specific, this is essentially a B'Elanna Torres episode. She gets the first character episode of the series. I believe that in the initial draft of Caretaker, they were just going to say, "Oh, she's chief engineer now." They're like, "This is too much. Let's figure this out in the next episode." Which thank God. Could you imagine if at the end of Caretaker, it's like not only are they in the uniforms, it's like, and Torres is also chief engineer.
Right.
So, and thank God for that. And Torres is not a huge character in the first episode. So we get way more with her in this one than we do in the premiere. What do you guys think? If we're looking specifically at Torres, does this do a good job in fleshing her out, exploring her character? I don't know. What do you guys think? What works or what doesn't work about her as a character in this episode?
I actually think it works really well. Yeah. Even though I feel like some of her scenes are a bit exaggerated, maybe a little bit, I don't want to say overacting, but overacting a little bit. But it's like, because of the just like, I'm angry, and I'm a Klingon, so I'm like,
she's a Latina Klingon. She's spicy.
Klingon, half Puerto Rican. Yeah, this is how it's going to go. Yeah.
So it's like, yes, that's a little goofy, but I think it actually sets it up really well because you can see how she feels about Starfleet, even though she doesn't go into depth about what exactly she means by that line that she says. But you can also see her kind of volatility. You can see her emotions, but you can see how smart she is, and you can see that she's also willing to learn and to grow. And I like that. I like that she goes from just like punching out this guy, which is to she's just like
that guy.
She's like, I understand where I am, and what has to happen is like I will make peace with you. And I was like, and not only that, but I will still rely on you. You were my like rival, but I can't like I still value your expertise and what you can bring to the team. Like I don't know everything, and I liked that.
Yeah, we do get some good character growth with her in this, despite a lot of the issues of the episode.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I do like that. The last scene with her and Carrie, but I feel like again, there's just a lot of missed opportunity here. I mean, like Star Trek had spent so much time prior to this establishing the Maquis, their ideology, why they are who they are, and they're, for the viewer going into it, like, the Maquis are like, they're these bad guys, these terrorists. I mean, it's more complicated than that. And I don't know if you've ever watched like the Trexpertise 2-part on Star Trek and terrorism, but if you haven't, it's really worth.
I have watched that actually.
Yeah, I think it's great, and I think the Maquis are really interesting as a concept, but I just feel like they don't really do enough to explain why B'Elanna was drawn to the Maquis. Like, the system didn't give anyone a chance to breathe isn't enough reason. I mean, that might be enough reason to like drop out of Starfleet Academy, but then to go on and join up with the Maquis, feels like they missed an opportunity there. But it sets up who she is as a character very effectively. Like, you kind of know what you're going to be getting with her. It establishes, like I say, her competency. It gives confidence that, these Maquis members of the crew are going to be able to do the things that you would expect, at least a basic member of Starfleet to be able to do. I think it was just a very utilitarian way of sort of establishing what we can expect in terms of the dynamic between the Maquis and the Starfleet going forward is going to be. It's like, yeah, sure, they're going to salute, they're going to abide by the rules, but there's going to be a little bit of tension underneath. But it's going to be more playful than anything else. Like we can just move on to the problems of being 75 years away from getting back
right.
to Earth and go on from there. Yeah, it could have been way more interesting. I mean, otherwise she just kind of seems like this college dropout whose like professors were still really supportive of her.
You don't get me.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah,
Fuck the machine.
yeah.
She's listening to REM and recorders. Like when she goes like, yeah. Shout out to Roxanne Dawson. I think she plays it well.
Yeah.
I don't know if like the
100%.
character is all there in the writing sense, but I think she does a lot of the heavy lifting in this episode. So I think this episode, in the end, more or less gets there. And I think a lot of it is Roxanne Dawson.
I've always really enjoyed her. I feel like
She's trying her damnedest.
yeah, she just goes for it every time. I feel like, and I really appreciate that.
She plays off people, I think, really well.
Yeah.
And her scenes with Kate Mulgrew as Janeway, her scenes with Chakotay, she plays
really-
off people really well.
She
Yeah,
takes
she-
whatever energy they give her, she will do something with it.
When she grabs the thing off her desk and throws it at
door.
whoever's trying to come through the door
Yeah.
to like bother her, you feel like she means it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah. I buy it. I totally buy it.
It's great, but yeah.
If we're just branching out a little more into the other characters, this is our second episode. We get a little more development with some of the other characters. How do
Tess
we?
and the Doctor is one that I think they're trying to set that up. You know, that's like the first time where they're trying to establish, like, oh, maybe the Doctor will become more of a established character by means of crew members trying to interact with him as a person rather than just as an emergency medical. And that's kind of the first.
They don't do a lot with him in the first episode either. He's very functional to the plot. There's this holographic doctor. So they haven't really set up the character potential. So this is the first episode we kind of get a look at what this character might be. So
I really like how they did it because I feel like it was a nice scene between them, regardless of why Kes was coming to sickbay in the first place. But I feel like Kes was also a very good character for it because she's not Starfleet, so she's not as preoccupied with anomalies and things. She sees people, and she's.
We don't get a lot with Kes in the first episode either, so we get a little set up with a little more with both of them.
Yeah, I think it's a good look into both of them, and I think it plants the seeds really well. And I think it was a good scene because it did what it needed to do. It didn't need to be more than that in this episode because there was already different focuses. But I feel like it was great to start that in this episode.
It's a really interesting idea for a character, because we don't really, again, we didn't get into him a lot in the first episode. He's just kind of there in the background. It just briefly sets him up on a very functional level. All the med staff's dead. Here's this holographic doctor, but we're not really focused on him in the episode. Here we get a little more focus on him, and he kind of feels like an inverse of Data in the sense of Data is this artificial being who is built to eventually grow into being a human or something. But the Doctor is set up as like, he's just a program. And then we're like, he's a program faced with real quickly going beyond what his program was initially built for. And Kes is already like, you're very sensitive, but I mean like as a person, and that already gets into some really like, yeah, what do we do with this? Is the Doctor a person? Like, what the fuck do we do with this character? And like, it's like a computer program who is never meant to be anything more than a computer program suddenly faced with having to be more than that. It is really interesting.
That he's a computer program, and that is his limitations, right? Like, he's not like Data where he's like, my purpose is to evolve into a more advanced being. I know what I am, and this is all I was intended to be. So anything else beyond that has to just come from me, I guess, or from the exigent circumstances that I find myself in. And
as weird as it is that no one else on the ship seems to care that his image processor is malfunctioning and he's slowly disappearing, that makes Kess's observation and conversation with him all the more important, because while everyone else is just like, he's just a computer program, whatever.
She's
like him being tiny.
She's like,
I like you like this.
Yeah, she's like,
that's literally in the episode.
Yeah, she's like, you're a person. And she's like, you're very sensitive, and because everyone else is not really caring about him, he's just another technological part of the ship. She sees him as a person, and I feel like that makes that scene even more important because everyone else is just kind of
It is a really interesting scene because at the end he's like, "Thank you for coming in. It was a pleasure to treat you."
Yeah, I'm glad I could help you.
Yeah, and he hasn't been that way with anyone. He's been very abrasive toward everyone.
Yeah, the very beginning of the episode, he's literally just pushing
shoving
Carrie
Lieutenant Carrie and just like onto the bed.
And apparently just having good dirt around in your office is something a doctor's supposed to do, and it's just great.
Do you have any nitrogenated soil samples?
Yeah,
sure, on my top shelf.
All the tedium of medicine.
Any doctor worth his salt has some nitrogenated soil just sitting on the shelf.
Basic thing that any doctor has to do with. They're always coming in, they're asking me to take care of their hangnails, taking care of their pimples, asking me for nitrogenated dirt.
It's such a good, just quick visual meme of everything that Voyager is doing wrong. It's not thinking too much. Hey, we need a scene where Kes comes in and talks to the doctor. Well, she's doing an arboretum. Maybe he's got soil in his office. Yeah, sure. Why not? Why wouldn't he?
It's like, is there not a biology department?
Why wouldn't the doctor have soil?
Is there not a biology department and biologists on this ship?
They're all dead.
Same thing.
The whole
biology.
They were the first ones that Kazon's killed. No, but
it's so. I mean, it's a good scene, but the setup for it is just if you think about it for 2 seconds, why the fuck does he have dirt? His medicinal dirt
this is
that
just
he
the regular tedium of medicine.
I don't know. Maybe he prescribes it to people. It's like, go and eat this dirt. You'll be great.
It's so, again, they're clearly there's who cares?
Yeah.
They don't care. But then they go out of their way to over-explain the anomaly. Guys, pick a lane. Either over-explain it or under-explain it. Speaking a little more to our question from earlier before we wrap it up. I don't know. Clearly we have honed in on some potential flaws in this episode.
Potential? I think.
Does this episode help Voyager stand out from the other shows?
Nope.
Particularly Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, its contemporaries.
Nope.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
you can see that there's the spin, but they do not commit to it at all. They just abandon it halfway through.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think that's what this episode is about, is they're taking all of the bits that might have been interesting, and then they're just sort of we're resolving them so that we can just turn this back into a regular Star Trek series, we're just going to take all of the Maquis stuff and just get that all wrapped up. They're all, disciplined members of the crew now. We're just establishing that, yeah, sure, they're off in the Delta Quadrant and everything's super crazy. But no, we're also going to just have regular what if you find a quantum singularity that makes your ship look like it's two ships.
But
sure.
even then, I'm when I think back on Deep Space Nine and even TNG, which is not my favorite, none of their anomalies were this boring. No.
Somehow.
I
think honestly, a lot of it's just the approach, because it almost feels like halfway through this episode, you almost see the show abandoning itself halfway through this episode, where they set up, Maquis, there's conflict and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, shit, we have to have an anomaly.
But then the anomaly completely takes over, and then it's
It's weird.
Yeah.
All
it's
the
there just
goodwill
to be
it sets up at the beginning just completely dissolves by the end.
Just there to be there.
Yeah.
And
not to do anything else.
This is just early Voyager, and I still love Voyager, but you got to get through the early seasons, and like they say in the episode, sometimes you just got to punch right through it.
Give it 5 good seasons and we'll get there.
That's true. I do love Voyager. I did enjoy this episode, and I think a lot of that was because of Torres And Kate Mulgrew.
I'm glad you're on this podcast, Aren, because we're gonna have some good compare and contrast. Because I was like, just rolling my eyes. It's like, oh my god.
And meanwhile, I'm just eating it up with
We've
popcorn.
been watching Next Gen and Deep Space Nine for the last who knows how long, and then I get this fucking shit. I'm just like,
Meanwhile, I haven't seen this in years, and so it makes it even better than it would have been already.
I mean, I'm coming off of like the Maquis Part 1 and 2 and All Good Things, and even Caretaker, and it's like, yeah, here we. Oh, okay. Star Trek doing bland, boring Star Trek stuff. So.
I see the cast trying, and that is what keeps me there.
It's academically interesting. It's academically interesting if you're a Star Trek academic.
Yeah, even then, it's a bit of a stretch.
We'll do a few just quick little behind the scenes, and then we'll wrap it up. This episode was originally titled Ghost Ship. And originally it was actually about, there were actually aliens trapped in the singularity. I still hope at some point we get a Star Trek episode called Ghost Ship. It just seems like you've almost done 1,000 episodes of Star Trek and you haven't done Ghost Ship.
I'm so glad they didn't waste the episode titled Ghost Ship.
When I think of
this
Ghost
one,
Ship,
yeah.
I think of the actual movie Ghost Ship, and I think of the beginning. I don't know.
Okay, no.
Do you know the beginning of that movie?
I don't know.
Oh.
No. I feel like there's some episodes that come close, like the Tholian Web.
Yeah.
Gets very ghost shippy,
Yeah, that's
which I
very
kind
ghost
of
ship.
like. It's not really what the episode's about per se, but like
it's
the
a ghost ship episode.
the first act is really ghost shippy, which is kind of cool. So who knows? Maybe we'll get a full on good ghost ship episode at some point.
I'm happy to provide Ghost Ship, plot, pitches.
If you have any,
I've got some.
if you have any,
Pick
if Paramount
just
is
5
interested.
random like super Star Trek fans to be the new writers for the new Star Trek.
Yeah.
It'll take off. It'll be great.
If you at home have any episode ideas for a Ghost Ship Star Trek episode, you can email us your thoughts at storiedstartrek@gmail.com. That's storiedstartrek@gmail.com.
Make them spooky.
And we mentioned it really briefly, but yeah, Martha Hackett makes her first appearance as Seska in this episode and goes on to become a recurring character. For those who know, you know. We will definitely be getting more Seska in our little Voyager chunk.
Dare I say iconic?
Iconic queen.
Yes, queen.
All right, I think we'll wrap it up. Will, any final thoughts on Parallax?
Man, you just gotta resolve that parallax. Just get your
Gotta
different
punch
point of view back in line with what Voyager's going with, and just punch through.
You got to punch through.
Yeah, no, it's. I love Voyager, and I'm really grateful to have had a chance to be on the show, and hope you'll invite me back again.
Of course. Aren, any final thoughts on Parallax?
Wasn't as bad as I remembered.
Okay, high praise. Glowing review. It wasn't as bad as I remember. I feel like you could write that for literally every single episode of Star Trek Voyager. It wasn't as bad as I remember it.
This is it going forward. I don't even need to watch the show. This is it. This is my review.
I am not a fan of this episode. This is probably one of the weakest episodes I've seen on the podcast in a while. I'm also... again, an unabashed, I am not a huge Voyager stan. This is why I have you on the podcast to balance me out. All right.
Worse than season 1 of TNG.
If I'm going to be honest, I would rather watch TNG season 1 than Voyager season 1. Again, for me, the cardinal sin of entertainment is to be boring. I would rather watch.
We learned about tachyons. So they're different from tachyons.
Right, tachyons. I would rather watch like TNG. Like, what the fuck am I watching? I would rather watch fucking Justice. I want sexy white people doing yoga and run and in oil and jogging. Can we run? Of course we can run. Right, Commander Riker? I will take that Star Trek over this fucking shit every time.
That says a lot to me.
Yeah.
To me personally. Yeah.
I'll take Spock's brain over this.
Oh, but I mean, I will too.
That's not even a question. Come on.
A Land of Troyes compared to this masterpiece. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, I'll take that over this fucking shit. This to me is everything I don't want Star Trek to be. Bland and not living up. Because all the potential, it's here. The potential is, in the whole podcast so far,
Squandered potential.
Just the squandered potential.
Yes.
There has never been an episode that has as much squandered potential. Potentially, this episode is awesome. It's not. Yeah. But it's all there to be awesome.
It hurts.
And it makes it frustrating to me as a viewer. Just like, because I'm bored. I'm like, I don't want to be this. I shouldn't be bored by this. They want a mutiny.
It didn't have to be like this.
It didn't have to.
You just got to resolve
so
your
easily
parallax
been better.
with the studio's perspective. Like, but what about the shareholders?
Oh, yes.
Oh my God, it's always the studios and the shareholders.
I mean, to be fair, they use this show to launch an entire network UPN, so you can tell they're pussyfooting around.
Well, anyway, it gets better. Voyager gets better.
The Voyager gets better, asterisks. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for listening to our coverage of Parallax. We hope you enjoyed our coverage of the episode, if not the episode itself. Next time, we are going to be watching Phage. As a new Star Trek series, there is a tradition of introducing new antagonists and alien races. Last time on Caretaker, we got introduced to the Kazon. In this one, we are going to get introduced to another recurring antagonistic alien race. We're going to meet the Vidians. Yes, new antagonistic race.
I love how I knew you were going to say the Vidians in the Janeway voice.
The Vidians.
I knew it before it came out of your mouth.
They are objectively less boring than the Singularity.
Yeah, there you go. There's our promise for next episode. Objectively not as boring as this one. And we will be having a new friend on to talk about that one with us. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Will, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like I always have to apologize to the hardcore fans, who come on to the show, because the hardcore fans for their debut episode always get episodes like this, because you are the only people I can count on to come talk about it. I cannot inflict parallax on newbies. I can't.
It was a pleasure being on. I hope you'll have me back. Maybe for an episode that I have a little bit more to say about.
We'll get you. Yes. I always promise. We'll get you good. Well, I promise. We'll get you for a good one. We'll get you for a good one.
Delightful. No, this is delightful. Thank you. But yes, next time
we'll definitely have you back on, Will, for a good one. I promise.
Fuck yeah. Thanks, man.
Aren, as always, thank you.
Of course.
So much.
Yeah.
I mean, I say as always, we're only a couple episodes into our reign on the podcast, but
we always have Star Trek conversations, so we can just count those.
I know.
Too,
We've been having these conversations for 300,000 years, so
approximately.
So as always, thank you for the good good Star Trek conversation.
Of course.
All right, everyone at home, thank you so much. We will see you next time for Phage. And we will see you hopefully not trapped in an anomaly, seeing your own reflection beneath the ice, because how incredibly boring. The boredom. Yeah, hopefully that's not going on in your life. All right, we'll see you next time for Phage. Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to share us your own Star Trek story, you can email us at storiedstartrek@gmail.com, or you can visit our Discord server. You can find us by clicking on the link in the show description.